RuneScape 3 just stepped into a brand new era, and oh my goodness, I am so excited. Genuinely right now, if you were to think about something you don't like about RS3, I'd say there's probably an 80% chance it's on the roadmap to be fixed in 2026. I literally cannot believe this is real. In this video, let's cover every single update on the 2026 roadmap. I'll give you my thoughts on every single one as I go through the news post, and I'll let you know what I think. But wait, there's even more. To show that Jagex really isn't messing around one bit, along with the roadmap reveal, in today's update, we got a brand new UI with an iconic circular map, the classic game chat with the bottom bars like we used to have way back in the day, and a remodel of a bunch of free-to-play areas. And on top of that, the Cosmetic Toggle is now in the game, so if you don't want to see other players' cosmetics or their animations, you can just turn them off right now. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe for more RuneScape content because we've got an insane amount of exciting RuneScape stuff to cover this year. And with that said, let's get into it. Welcome to our biggest RuneScape ahead ever and the start of a bold new era for RuneScape. As we celebrate RuneScape's 25th anniversary, this moment isn't about reflecting on how far we've come, it's about looking ahead. RuneScape has always evolved alongside its players, and what we're sharing today marks a defining step in that journey. We're unveiling our roadmap for the entirety of 2026, along with a brand new identity for RuneScape, one that honors our heritage while embracing our ambition for the years to come. A new chapter is a symbol of renewal and growth, and of our commitment to delivering meaningful experiences and lasting value in everything we create. This anniversary year represents more than a milestone, it's a turning point, one that sets RuneScape firmly on a course for the future it deserves. As we continue to evolve across the studio and our games, we do so with a clear purpose, to deliver brilliant content and incredible value and experiences that are worthy of your time and trust. The road to restoration. Let's dive right into it with our new integrity roadmap, aptly named the Road to Restoration, a dedicated track of integrity-focused releases running alongside our main content roadmap. We'll be tackling long-standing challenges like DailyScape pressure, early and mid-game skilling balance, visual identity, and much more. But before we dive into that, let's not forget the other thing happening today. Treasure Hunter is no more. By the time you're reading this, Treasure Hunter will be removed from RuneScape, and hundreds of gameplay impacting MTX items will no longer be available for sale. Ending the sale of these items is the first step towards our long-term ambition, removing their presence from the game entirely. Over the course of 2026, players will have the opportunity to use up any existing stockpiles with additional chances later in the year to clear out anything that remains before these items are ultimately made obsolete. On top of that, we're excited to kick off the Road to Restoration with 3 brand new releases going live today. So first thing, obviously, this is a massive W. I have said this before. I have personally wrestled with the morality and ethics of being a content creator who is streaming a game like RuneScape and promoting it to people when I also know the game features gambling and garbage that genuinely has a terrible impact on a lot of players' lives. I know people personally that have struggled with Treasure Hunter, spending more money than they want to on it, getting addicted to the rush of spinning the keys. The way that it's designed, I always found it absolutely sinister, and it's actually one of the reasons that pushed me to play an Iron Man many years ago. And I think when you look at Iron Man mode, a lot of people play it because it was the only mode without garbage MTX. A lot of the time, they didn't like the Iron Man experience. They just wanted to play the game without MTX. I'm so excited that TH is gone. It's something that I never actually thought would happen, and it's done. Obviously, there is still MTX in the game, but it is a lot more ethical. It is a lot more, morally evergreen, I will say. It fits a lot better into the game, and to me, it's a lot closer to old school selling bonds that you could use to increase your XP rate and that kind of paid progression than a casino slot machine, squeal of fortune, lottery roulette wheel kind of nonsense. So very excited about this. This is without a doubt a major win in my book. Some people are going to be upset about it, and to those people, I would ask you to question why you're actually playing the game and what you enjoy about it. Because if the thing you enjoy about the game is logging in and getting free XP that lets you skip the game, perhaps it might be time to have some difficult conversations with yourself about what you're choosing to do with your time and what you're choosing to spend it on. UI update, a new look. Starting with the UI, we unveil a fresh. It delivers a familiar UI experience that keeps all the functionality you need while introducing a cleaner, more classic and refreshed look throughout. As part of that new visual identity, we're restoring stone UI icons and reintroducing the circular mini-map, a small but meaningful nod to the RuneScape many grew up with. Talking about the UI, I will say this, in general, I like the brown UI more than the blue UI, but there are a couple things that I don't like. First off, I love the circular minimap. I wish the calendar wasn't on screen, and there is no toggle to remove it. The reason I don't like the calendar on screen is when I get sucked in to a world, I want to be immersed in the world. Like, my system tray has a clock. I don't need to know what game time it is all the time. I would much rather just enjoy my adventure and play it. To me, right now, this is going to serve as like a DailyScape reminder. And you know, maybe dailies die and we're chilling, but in general, I like the circular map. I just don't like the calendar. I'm definitely going to switch over to a circular map because not only is it like nostalgic, it also takes up less space. So that's really good. I'm stoked about that. This chat is so much better than the old chat in the game. It just is. Having the tabs, they're familiar to old school players, but they also just work better than having all of the like the cogs and the filter menu. It's no good. Invent, I'm good with. The new legacy interface mode that looks like this, it has 2 tabs open. It seems really good. I think a lot of players coming over are going to log in, switch to that UI, and use it forever. The one thing I will say about the new UI, though, I am not a fan of the brown in the bank in particular. It's way too dark, and I have a lot of trouble seeing items. Nothing really stands out and pops. Everything else is good though, and this is very fixable, so hopefully they make the bank a little bit lighter. And then really quick, I'll show you guys the legacy interface too. Whenever like you want to like start skilling, you go into legacy interface mode so you can resize your screen. Now, you're just gonna hit classic, and now you've got a resizable screen. Look at this. If you go too small, it takes it down to 1 tab, and then you go a little bigger, it goes to 2 tabs. So they stack really, really, really nicely. It's fully resizable. This is going to be awesome for skilling on the second monitor. And you get the 3 action bars. They go on top of your invent until you go big enough for them to pop into the middle. To me, this is really clean. I think this is going to be way nicer because not only is it fully resizable like Legacy Interface mode, but you could actually use it for combat too. Like, genuinely, I think a lot of players will make accounts and just play like this forever. We've also improved the default layout to make it stronger, more versatile, works no matter where you are in your journey. This is just the beginning. It's the first step in a series of iterative UA improvements with many more enhancements to come as we continue working closely with all of you to take it even further. Okay, huge. That's one thing I was gonna ask is like, is this the end of them working on UI? And it's not. This is like step 1 of many, and that's good because there's a lot of stuff here I would tweak. Like it didn't feel feature complete, and it's not. So cool. Looking forward to UI batch 2, I would assume later in the year. Next one that is absolutely huge is cosmetic visual toggles. This is a massive win, in my opinion. This is something that, like, cosmetic free worlds were kind of bad in a lot of ways, and a lot of people didn't like them because it wasn't a player choice. It was either all or nothing. And now, being able to choose what you can see and what you can't see, I have no idea how they did this on the tech side. I am very stoked about this. So there are 2 new toggles, one to hide cosmetics and one to hide animations. I will say this. The thing that I'm most excited about here is probably the animation ones. I find it very immersion breaking when you're training mining and the person next to you is using like a drill from Home Depot and it makes a sound like a drill in your ear. And it's like, bro, I'm trying to play a medieval game. It doesn't feel like a medieval game right now. That's absurd. Or they're headbutting it. To me, being able to turn off the animations is massive. The one thing I would want in this though, I would love it if conjurers as well were part of this too. I think the right move was making it a player choice. I also think some people are gonna hate this because if you like your cosmetics because they're punchy and people have to stare at them, you might be a little annoyed that people don't have to stare at your cosmetics. But I think in reality, it is a good direction for the game. I think this is the perfect happy middle ground. Not a fan of wings? Hide them. Or perhaps you prefer to see what other players are actually wearing. No problem either. All the toggles will be released in today's update. Later this year, we'll give you even more toggles, including hiding other players, summoning familiar customization. Visual update Mistlin and Asgarnia Faceless. Our third release is a world update for Gildor, focusing on iconic free-to-play areas like Lumbridge, Draenor, Varrock, and beyond. The locations have been brought up to the visual standard we're establishing across the game, with even more updates planned later this year. Also did normal oak and willow trees across the entire game, bringing them to a stronger, more consistent visual standard that better ties the world together. I've got to say, I have not liked a lot of the visual updates. Like some of them I've liked, some of them I haven't. I actually think they did a pretty good job with this. If you look at this castle, you can tell it's Lumbridge. It's very obviously Lumbridge, but it looks new. It looks chunkier. It looks... yeah, looks more modern. Same with the Varrock. I think they did a good job with it. I like the new trees as well. This was across the entire game world. The only one I don't like is the willow tree. It already feels more like a world that I could get sucked into. So yeah, to me, this is just like, it's just a win. It's just good. Also, something interesting to look at here is they've actually put it on paper which areas were updated in which ways today. It's good that they're tackling free-to-play areas first. I think it's really good that they're keeping them the same, but making them look newer. and nicer. As an example, you can tell this is Varrock. I think if you're an old school player and you pull up, this still looks and feels like Varrock. It just looks more unified in terms of art style. And I think that's a really good thing. Like, to me, that's the right direction to have. Next steps on the road to restoration. Game update, free Runemetrics. The in-game Runemetrics functionality will become completely free for all paid members, including bond users, later this spring. As part of a wider effort to make tooling more accessible and genuinely useful. Furthermore, we're no longer offering the purchase of Runemetrics Pro subscriptions from today, and have wider plans to decommission the Runemetrics Pro website feature entirely later this year. Existing Pro subscribers will have additional time to download any data stored on the web. We'll share more information about this in the coming month, including info for players with existing longer Runemetrics Pro subscriptions. If you do currently use Runemetrics Pro, keep an eye on your emails for further information. These updates mark the start of the road to restoration and set the stage for a year of rebuilding and strengthening RuneScape's core experience. So this is a very obvious one. I've talked about this before for years. It was a huge problem that you had to pay an extra subscription to see your XP rates and stuff, especially when you compare it to old school, right? On old school would never in a million years have like pay extra to see your XP rates. It's so grubby, it's so scummy, it's so kind of backwards. I mean, realistically too, RuneLite enables so much really good tracking, and it's better tracking than Runemetrics. So you're telling an old school player that they have a thing for free that is better than the thing on RSC that you have to pay for. Combat style modernization in February. Wait, we're at the end of January. In February, we'll be launching our combat modernization update. We'll be taking on the 3 original combat styles and bringing them up to the modern age. This update focuses on making combat more intuitive and easier to learn through experimental gameplay, with streamlined ability lists that are gradually introduced as you progress through the levels, alongside simpler yet deeper synergies between abilities. Melee, range, and magic have long suffered from dated designs and general inconsistencies. Especially in the early game, this results in a confusing and contradictory experience, ultimately resulting in unnecessary friction during early game combat. Something I'll say about this is, I actually generally agree with everything that's being said here. When you talk to new players or players that quit early or old school players, especially the early game is really bad. You get a bunch of random abilities thrown on your bars. They don't make sense. There are no synergies between them. I actually do think it shouldn't be that hard to clean this component up. I think the question I have is, are there going to be significant knock-on effects that mess with the endgame combat that a lot of endgame people actually quite like? I also do think you're going to have to, there's going to have to be some kind of happy medium, but I definitely don't want to see endgame all 3 styles that aren't necromancy feeling like necromancy. Early game and mid game, I'm very on board with this. I think necromancy actually does a lot right for those types of players. The plan update takes learnings from previous combat updates such as Necromancy and 2023's combat update to modernize the styles and provide a clean foundation. This will make the systems easier to introduce new players to without compromising the experience for endgame players. Okay, good. So that is sort of what I said. But once again, I'm not going to say like I'll believe it when I see it, but that's the hard part, right? The hard part is cleaning up without getting rid of stuff that endgame players like. Below is an overarching change list. Ooh, okay. Removal or rework of unnecessary bloated abilities. Over time, additional abilities have been added to the original styles kits that in hindsight did not add additional gameplay or nuance to the style. As a result, these have been removed or reworked. Shock and horror, anyone? Removal of thresholds. Thresholds are a dated concept from EOC, leading to situations where abilities often compete with one another due to similar costs. Removing thresholds allows for nuanced abilities with variable costs, leading to more dynamic gameplay. So, they're not saying they're deleting abilities that are thresholds. What they're going to do is they're going to make them into abilities. So it's just an ability that has a cost. Think about bloat. Bloat is not a threshold. You can use it at any amount of adrenaline, and it costs 20%. I'm imagining their ability to, like in the range beta, right? They made Snapshot cost more adrenaline and have no cooldown and do way more damage. In general, I like this. The one thing I'm nervous about is I hope that they normalize the adrenaline costs across the board a little bit, because I think it would be very confusing for a new player, correct me if I'm wrong, if every ability in your book costs a different amount. Like, I don't think I want abilities that cost 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 45, 55, 65, and 70. I would much rather the bulk of my abilities cost either 20 or 40 or 60. You know what I mean? I still think they should normalize a little bit. Introduction of a basic attack. Basic attacks are core to RuneScape's identity. Fundamentally, RuneScape has always had them through the original point-and-click gameplay. We've introduced an action bar-based system with the EOC. Auto attacks are moved to the background of combat. Utilizing learnings from Necromancy, we're reintroducing basic attacks to the 3 core styles through modernized for action bar-based gameplay. Redistributing ability unlocks by level. This is a big one. Abilities for melee, range, and magic will be redistributed to better introduce players to each style over time. With the reduction of abilities, introduction of a basic attack, each ability can be made meaningful and deliberate in where it's unlocked. So this is one of the things that Necromancy, in my opinion, did actually really well, right? You get abilities a couple at a time at a level that it makes sense, and you slowly layer on complexion. Whereas if you play the other styles, it's very jarring. You kill like 10 cows, and all of a sudden you have 7 abilities that are on your screen, and you don't know how to use any of them, and none of them make sense. So this I actually think is really good. Next up, removal of lesser abilities. Lesser abilities will always serve as a point of friction for new players. I agree, they're garbage. Given where they're positioned, they were often worse than using an auto attack and were oftentimes worse than using slice, piercing shot, or rack, yet visually they appear to be more interesting. With the introduction of basic attacks, redistribution of levels, lesser abilities are removed. This is a good example of something that could have happened years ago, but this will have no impact on endgame players, and it will make the game easier to understand and less overwhelming for new players. Visual cleanup, animation reworks, VFX, projectile updates. Melee, range, and magic suffer from various visual inconsistencies, from abilities sharing the same animation, looking at you rack, to clipping or jagged animations. We're taking time to modernize each ability visually, whether that's through remastering the original animation, using modern tech, reworking the visual effects to remove duplicate animations, or adding additional VFX to ensure abilities feel satisfying to use. This, I think, is going to be really nice. I think this will be nice for everybody, right? When you're maging and your character does the, that... Really cool. This is a win for, I think, for everybody. I don't think this is a controversial one. Normalizing ammo consumption. There's a large disparity between ammo consumption for both range and magic from the early game to the end game. In the early game, minimal ammo is consumed, leading to confusion of when it should be consumed. This is then flipped in the end game where many thousands are consumed per hour. This consumption will be normalized, resulting in consistent experience across the board. So this to me makes sense. When you're training ranged, the fact that you can go from 1 to 99 range with 1 Chinchompa is kind of bad. And likewise, dying arrow consumption rate is way too high. So usually what normalizing means is you do a big squish. So you bring the high amounts down, you bring the low amounts up. This actually should mean that dying arrow rates are going to be improved. So the rates will go down of use per hour. And then early game, it makes sense, right? You shouldn't be able to do 99 range with 1 Chinchompa. Very cool. Next up, tutorialization of abilities. Currently, when abilities are unlocked, they're directly added to your action bar. This is easy to miss and does not offer guidance on what an ability does. By adding Necromancy-style UI tutorials, preventing it from being auto-added to your bar, we aim to better explain these abilities and guide the early game players within their combat journey. This, to me, is just a W. Automatically populating abilities onto people's bars is both annoying for experienced players making different accounts when your bar gets all messed up, and 2, I think for a new player, having to actually have a pop-up that tells you what it does, find it in the book, and then drag it onto your bar, and then you know where it is. That is a ritual behavior that helps somebody learn what an ability does. I am very excited about this. And I know people are angry about some of these combat changes. I totally get it. There's a lot of stuff here that I'm going to say isn't good or I'm not looking forward to. Everything in here is, in my opinion, exceptional. This is a fat W. All of this is. Increasing attack, strength, range, and magic to 120. Each of the original skills will be brought to 120 to keep parity with Necromancy. This is something that I've talked about before. I have concerns about this. This is partially done because auras are being deleted, and when auras get deleted, you're gonna lose power, and then this brings the power back up. But to a player that has 99 range, there's a big difference between popping Reckless Aura at 99 ranged and having to get 104 million XP in range to do the same amount of damage. This is something I'm going to flag up early, and I've made sure as well to pass this to the devs as well. All of this is to make combat less frictionful for newer and less experienced players. Making it so that you need 120 in a skill to PVM, to me, is a problem, and I'm hoping what they'll be able to do, look at the level curve for damage and accuracy and make changes to the curve. You should have lots of leveling benefits from 99 to 120, but in terms of your accuracy and your damage, I would like it if those levels mattered less so that you can start PVMing earlier. I'm okay with this and it makes sense, and I think it's weird that Necro goes to 120 and the others don't, but yeah, I have some concerns here, especially for newer players. Removal of specific auras. We understand that auras time blocks you into engaging in certain content for 1 hour increments. Alongside the skill cap increase for core styles, removing Berserker, Reckless, Maniacal, and Moderate auras for overall power creep, while reducing the reliance on auras to complete content efficiency. So reducing the reliance on auras is actually a good thing. This is something that I wanted to talk about, and we'll talk about it more because they're removing all auras. It's later on in this news post, they talk about killing every single aura. A lot of people are very concerned about it. I think they gave a lot of detail. I think the plan is to take some of the benefits that people like from auras and bake them into the skills. And I would hope that the same thing happens with combat as well, where if there are aura effects that people like I love being able to pop penance. That's great. I'd love for there to be a way to like actually do that. But something that I care about a lot is I don't think RS3 players, including myself, understand how truly immersion breaking and limiting it is to have to schedule every single PVM activity in increments of 30 minutes or 1 hour. When you talk to old school players about that, when they want to do a boss and they make a team for AOD, they go to AOD and they have fun until somebody has to leave. And I don't know, the idea of that just feels very liberating to me. The entire 1 hour time block thing doesn't exist in old school. You just kind of go and have fun with your friends, and then you leave when you need to leave and you get replaced with somebody else. I think it's gonna feel really, really, really good. Auras are possibly, in a game that had Treasure Hunter, the single most egregious, disgusting form of monetization that the game has ever had. Auras were designed so that people that aren't playing feel FOMO if they cancel their membership. The loyalty point system is absolutely disgusting. The way that auras come into the game, if you want to buy all the auras, you need to be a member for 11 years? To get your legendary auras. And when you tell a new player, hey, come over to the game, oh, by the way, these really powerful buffs, you have to be a member for 11 years to get them. It's absurd. My personal thing is, you might say, okay, so what if you made them last forever and gave them to everyone for free? And you know what I would say to you? That sounds like a leveling benefit. Just make it a leveling benefit. Bake the effects you like into the skills so that your progression in the skills is meaningful. And then you know what else you can do when you do that? You can delete every single aura from the interface. You can delete the whole interface itself. To me, you make the game simpler, you make it clearer, you're getting rid of a massive interface that you'd have to go into and tinker with all the time. I think removing auras is a W. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be angry at me for saying that because a lot of people love auras. I would much rather keep the effects that you want, bake them into skills themselves. Oh, whoa! Solid food rebalance. Solid food within RuneScape has always been a bit of an odd spot. In the early game, the adrenaline cost negates any generated adrenaline through basic attacks. This reminds me very quick, I do a lot of teaching people PVM, and I remember people will send me VODs and I'll take a look at them and I'll give them feedback and whatever else. I help people out like that. The amount of people I've sent who send me a VOD and say, I can't figure out how you guys are killing bosses so fast, and then you watch their kill it next, and they never get above 50% adrenaline because they're guzzling food the whole time. It's so bad. Leading to situations where you can't gain adrenaline. In the endgame, on the other hand, reliance on Soul Split avoids this. To prevent Solid Food being a noob trap in the early game, Solid Food has had its adrenaline cost reduced. Additionally, in the early game, food scales with your constitution hit points level. This creates unnecessary confusion where you're punished for having a lower level. This has been removed in favor of healing static amounts. This is a W. We don't know what it's been reduced to, but to me, this is awesome. People should be using food as the main way to heal, or as a viable way to heal. I still want to see Styles getting some form of lifesteal, but this is great. Food being a noob trap was a huge issue. I love this. And then on top of that, I love the idea that a shark just heals 20. The fact that that was a thing for so long and you'd have to use lower tier food at a lower level, to me was very un-RuneScape. Because in RuneScape, if you want to make a new account and you want to train fishing to 80 for sharks and you want to cook them, you should be able to heal to full HP every time you eat a shark because you did that thing. You got that unlocked. That's how it works in old school. That's how it should have always worked at RS3. I like that you can kind of get out of whack with you unlock really powerful food at a low level and now you can heal to full every time you eat one. This is gonna go so hard for new accounts and new players. I really like this, and I think it's really, really good. And then the last one is default action bar changes. With the introduction and subsequent removal of redundant abilities, the automatically generated action bars have become notably out of date. They've been updated to better take into account the reduced ability count, optimized to be revolution friendly. Oh, does that mean they're giving you a good revo bar? By default, auto setup action bar. So what they're saying is they're going to make it so that the auto setup action bar button is actually good and gives you an actual usable bar. Yeah, that seems really good. Love that. So that's all of the combat stuff. In general, there's a lot that I need to see more on. I'm a little nervous about basic attacks. I'm a little nervous about going up to 120. But in general, all of these bullet points seem really positive. Almost everything in here should be a positive across the board. Oh yeah, speaking of, can we change Constitution back to hit points? Everybody calls it hit points. Everybody wishes it was hit points. HP is so classic. If you write Constitution and then you have to put hit points in brackets what's next to it on the news post. Maybe it should just be hit points. Balance update, new beginnings. Continuing in February, our focus shifts to the early game experience with the first of many rebalancing updates. You're tackling unnecessary friction in those early levels by addressing root issues like shrimp catch rates, pickpocket stun chances, drop tables, and much more. Our goal is for skilling to feel simple, rewarding, and engaging, encouraging players to progress naturally into the deeper system these skills have to offer as they become more invested. We'll follow this with a similar update for the mid-game midsummer and an endgame one in autumn. So, this is obviously very vague, but my hope, the thing that annoys me kind of the most about skilling in RuneScape, and I mean this very genuinely, is a lot of the time, I want to go chop a tree to train woodcutting. So you'd think, okay, so maybe you've got a lumberjack outfit, maybe you've got to equip your hatchet, and then you should be able to go chop a tree. And instead, when you end up with a list of 20 different buffs that work at different level brackets. Okay, so we want the lumberjack outfit, the sentinel outfit, we've got urns, we've got juju potions, we've got beaver, we've got aura, urn enhancer, you've got an archaeology relic, skill jumpas, a chain axe, a skirmish. Some of these aren't so bad, but the amalgamation of all of them together, I find it adds so much bloat when people just want to train skills. Like, you shouldn't have to run around the world and turn on a bunch of random crap in order to train a skill properly. I think to train woodcutting properly, you should have a hatchet, an outfit, maybe a potion if you really want, and then start chopping trees. A lot of this stuff I would very much like to kill. It adds a lot of bloat and confusion to skilling in RuneScape, where I think at its core, the interesting stuff in skilling should be your gameplay. The gameplay should change as you level up. It should get more intense. There should be a mix of AFK and non-AFK methods. And then eventually you look at your buff bar and you've got 12 different timers going, counting all your different buffs. I don't like any of it. So anyway, that's my vision for this. I think that's what they're saying they're doing here. That would be really, really good. Game update, life after dailies. RuneScape shines when players log in because they want to, not because they feel they have to. DailyScape is fundamentally at odds with what makes RuneScape feel like RuneScape. The other day, we'll be taking a holistic look at all DailyScape systems, from shop stocks to Viswax to D&Ds, and yes, even those hourly wildy events. We want RuneScape to be a game you can enjoy playing for what it is, when you feel like, and without a checklist of chores to complete. If they could come out of this, turn half of the dailies into training methods, like what Mod said about caches, where what if caches was just a permanent training method? You go there and that is how you can train your divination if you want to train active div at a certain level. Stuff like wildy events, I think a lot of people are going to be really mad at me when I say this, but like stuff like this needs to go. The idea of dink donk, you have to go do this thing at this specific time or you miss out is not good. I would actually kill wildy events completely. And then I'd put the Dark Onyx core on something else. And I know a lot of people are in the Kool-Aid of you're used to it, you love it because of all the content it lets you skip. But I think if you think about it holistically, dailies that allow you to skip the core gameplay loop are not good. In a similar way to why MTX lamps are not good. It's sort of the same thing. The way to train your skills should be training your skills, not doing other stuff. Training some skills are just unbearable. I agree with you, Box of Stuff. And that is why what I would like is if you kill the dailies, right? I think dailies exist as a band-aid for bad skills and bad content. It's not such a bad thing that early agility sucks because you can just skip it. I think in reality, what could end up happening as a knock-on effect with killing dailies is if you kill dailies and then at the same time in the same update, you actually improve the core skills themselves, you end up with a way better game. You do them both at the same time though, and then the whole game is just better because it kind of feels like a lot of dailies were added as a band-aid to skip bad skills and bad content instead of just fixing the content. And then you don't need to worry about why players want to skip it. They won't want to skip it if it isn't bad. And I don't think you need to kill all of them. Like, you know, if you want to keep Herbie Werby or keep Tears of Gothics or whatever, like totally on board, but there are just too many. Everything in the merchant stock allows you to skip content that is considered bad or isn't balanced. This feels like the ultimate band-aid. Livid Farm is miserable to do. Buy it from the shop for months. The best way to get RuneSpan points isn't RuneSpan, it's not doing RuneSpan. What I would personally do is look at everything that is on this drop table and improve the content and then delete it. That is what I would personally do. and just go all the way up the list and do it the whole way down. Aura overhaul. Auras create time pressure and a feeling of complexity with extra things you feel like you should consider in your setup before you start the task at hand. That's why this spring we intend to fully remove all auras. No more refreshes, no more limited peak efficiency, just more enjoyable gameplay loop. Meanwhile, we will investigate if those benefits can be moved to be part of the core game experience. This is a Giga W. What if as you trained fishing, your character got better at catching fish? We don't need auras. Just bake the benefits you like into the skills. What if as a leveling benefit for thieving, as you thieve more, you become better at thieving? But yeah, anyway, that's my general take on auras is like 90% of the benefits you could bake into the skills. And then for the other 10%, you might need to look at like different unlocks or different reward spaces or like ways to give them that. I think a good example is like vampirism and penance. I think fundamentally, penance, people like it because prayer drain rate is high and it's good for AFK stuff. Vamp, people like it because until you get soul split, healing is really, really limited. Are there ways to fix those core issues so that people don't need those auras or feel like they need them? That would be really good. That's my take on the aura stuff. I think it's going to take some getting used to, but I think if they do it right, it's going to be really good for the game. I also think like in terms of simplifying the game, maybe this might be, I mean, I don't even think it's going to be a hot take, but when we're talking about like RuneScape's new era, imagine if this interface was just gone. Imagine if this whole, you know, you just delete the whole box. But yeah, no, just getting rid of this whole thing. I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Game update, GE improvements. If you've ever watched one of my rebuilds, videos or streams, you will know that I'm the world's biggest Grand Exchange hater because you have no idea how much items are actually selling for, and item prices take forever to update. The Grand Exchange will also get some love as we said to address your most desired features and improvements. We're going to improve things like how items update their price, item buy limits, and more. As we kick off development on this, we want to hear from you with what changes or improvements you'd like to see at the GE. I personally would love to see recent traded prices on items. That is what I like to see. I want to know how much stuff is actually trading for. That would be big. To me, the mark of it, if this update works or is successful, is if LE.GG exists after this update, the update was a failure. Next up, social update, squad goals. Later this year, as part of the wider road to restoration, we'll be delivering a dedicated update focused on improving RuneScape social systems. While the full design is still taking shape, our aim is to strengthen the overall social experience through improvements to areas like chat range, broadcasts for collection log drops, and similar. Some clan-centric features that will make socializing in RuneScape feel more connected and impactful. I talked about this before while we were watching the video. I'm happy with this, and I think it's worth looking at. The one thing that I think is missing, well, it's actually two things. One, they're talking about broadcasts for collection logs. I'd love to see a unified collection log. And two, I think we need a PVM group finder. They talked about in the video about a clan finder. And as much as I would love a clan finder, and I'm cool with that, I think realistically, a PVM party finder would be more impactful. That is one that I like. Okay, next one, game update. API plugin support. For many years, you've asked for plugins in RuneScape similar to those in old school. Plugins empower the community to create tools, features, and functionality that enable unique experiences and give players greater control over how they interact with the game. Something you've long told us could help RuneScape truly thrive. As a result, we're investing in a dedicated new development team with a single mission: to bring plugin support to the RuneScape client before the end of 2026. Bro, can we fast forward to the end of the year? To do this right, we're designing the very foundations of the system to empower talented community developers to do their best work. If you're one of those devs, visit the dedicated API channel in our Discord server, where we'll begin to build an API community for months ahead. I've been saying this forever, obviously, not to sound like a broken record, but plugins are such a strong net positive on the game, because when people want tools, instead of begging RuneScape to make things forever, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they can't see the value, but it's valuable to you as an individual person, it gives you the opportunity to make it yourself. This is things like Quest Helper. This is things like Tile Marker. I'll give you a really good example. I really want to do a group Iron Man with one of my friends where we're each restricted to different sides of the world. And then over time, the world border moves. You can make that with plugins, where you can actually show the areas that are restricted and the ones that aren't. You want to make Bronze Man mode? You could do that with a plugin, where it will flag items that you've already seen, and then only those items will be buyable in the Grand Exchange. You want to do Nightmare mode? You can do that with a plugin. Like, most people won't give a crap about any of that, but as a creator, these are all of the ideas that I've had for content that I want to make. And with plugin support, I will be able to without having to try to advocate for Jagex to make these things, because they're not going to make it if it's just for me. This is exceptional. And people will talk about scope creep and RuneLite and how there's some bad about RuneLite. And I agree with that. But I think it's such a strong net positive. I don't think RuneScape is as successful as it is in terms of old school without RuneLite. I think RuneLite is a big part of the reason the game has had so much success. RS3 getting RuneLite is going to be massive. Even Quest Helper. If you don't like Quest Helper, don't feel like you have to use it. But for a lot of people, like, here's the thing. I've played a lot of accounts. I lose a hardcore Iron Man to fire every 3 years. When you're looking at someone like me, I don't want to experience every single quest again. Give me a Quest Helper. This is going to allow a renaissance for content space. It really is. It's going to enable so much. It's going to be so big. I'm very excited. Next up, a visual update, noise control and cleanup. As the year progresses, we'll continue unifying the visual identity of Gielinor. This means decluttering content that hasn't stood the test for 25 years, while steadily bringing the world up to the cohesion, modern standard that we've been building since 2020. That includes the avatar refresh, which you can read about more below. The road ahead. The road to restoration is just the beginning. Our first look at the core initiatives that will give the fundamental RuneScape experience the care and attention it deserves this year. The road will continue to evolve with your feedback and will be shaped by your voices, your ideas, and what you think should come next. There's only a start. There's so much more coming in 2025, and we can't wait for you to experience it all. I have a prediction. 1, I think as an isolated integrity roadmap, out of 10, like, this has to be at least a 9. I don't usually do this. I'm going to give it a 10. I know someone's going to say you're glazing or whatever, but if you actually think about it, everything on this roadmap is the stuff that we've been asking for that we thought would never happen for years. That's the truth. This is all the stuff that I've wanted forever. So I don't know, I can't really not give it a 10 in terms of a roadmap for integrity specifically. It feels like they watched a No Monkey video flaming RS3's leagues, and then they just like fixed all the stuff he was complaining about for 20. I don't see how this isn't a 10 out of 10. My prediction is that at the end of this year, the players are going to want another year of integrity roadmap. They're touching a lot of the game here, but then you have to look at things like drop rates, unified collection log, dupe protection. Like, there's so much more that needs to be overhauled. Even content as recent as Elder God Wars probably could use a new lick of paint. To me, this is a great start, but I think it's going to take more than this. The relic system, yeah, there's so much more. I think they're going to have to do more than this, and I hope they're not thinking about this being one and done. Like, oh yeah, we do that this year and we're good. I think they're gonna have to do 2 years of this easily. From an integrity roadmap standpoint, I'm very excited. I think the ones that stand out most to me, obviously API support is probably the update of the year. We're only halfway through this news post. Let's get into the new content for 2026. We've talked about the integrity stuff, and I would agree that's probably the more important stuff, but what is coming out that is actually new and playable in RuneScape next year? Havenhythe is RuneScape's biggest area expansion to date. It's a massive stretch of land on the east of Mauritania filled with villages, stories, people, adventures, and encounters, like a massive bloodthirsty hedgehog. We'll get back to you on that one. Once the home of a first age civilization, it's a landmass that's packed with lots of rich, layered history. In the first age, Havenhythe was the home of a magical nexus, the birthplace of Colossi, and a long dormant gateway to Vampyrium itself, which is nothing to worry about. Feels like a land full of life, a grounded and organic region, populated with stories, oddities, and those small, familiar RuneScape moments. But as you venture further, beyond the village of Wendlewick, things start to change. The forests thin, the air will grow colder, and as we expand Havenhythe through the year, you'll begin to feel that pull towards the east, where the region becomes more treacherous and vampiric. Looks fine, not a lot to discern here. We've got a new flower patch, new farming patch, kind of makes sense. Lots of new trees, an access point to Puro, it kind of looks like it. The giants, the fire, not a lot to see here. There's a cave, new fishing area, looks like some kind of crab on the beach, which is interesting. The new ivy they talked about, whatever this thing is, which I have absolutely no idea. Seeing a magic tree is interesting, so it's not just gonna be like a low-level hub, clearly. Whatever this thing is. Nothing strange happening here, probably. Like the beginning of many a great story, you meet a stranger in a tavern and have a questionable drink with them before ending up on a boat, sailing towards a land that doesn't want to stay hidden anymore. A typical Tuesday afternoon for an adventurer. Once you land in Havenhythe, you'll hear of strange rumors spreading through Wendlewick. Rumors of a pale-skinned woman, long, pointy ears, silver hair, sharp canines, red, hungry eyes, single, and ready to mingle. Sorry, I made that part up. Alongside the main story quests, there will be standalone quests that are fun little local stories intended to go beyond the core storyline and help you familiarize yourself with locals and their customs. Small town stuff, neighbors, chores, and the odd crab problem. What do you guys think of them having some RuneScape quests where it's like, bro's house is breaking and you need to fix it? I think I'm down. I think when these come out, I'm going to be like, that's it. This week's update was helping a dude in Havenhythe fix his wall. And it's going to feel like kind of annoying. But I think if you look at the whole game, RuneScape used to always have quests that are like that. I'm definitely on board with it. But I think for a lot of these updates, they're going to feel different to an RS3 player that is used to a certain type of update only. And this is definitely like a deviation from that. The local wildlife is friendly. Silverquill, the sanguine? Silverquill, the Sanguine Hedgehog, is one of our 2 brand new early game combat bosses that'll be available with the launch of Havenhythe Part 1. She'll teach you more about reading your opponent and responding to telegraphed attacks. If you can best this hog, you might just walk away with a handful of the silver spikes she's carrying. Those could prove rather useful later on in your Havenhythe journey, especially given the vampires and all. Make it through that, your next challenge awaits. Ivar, the King of Bones, a massive hill giant with a generously average IQ. I have a feeling I'm going to be able to handle the hog. This not-so-gentle giant will help you learn a little more about mastering your defensive prayers and may drop one of his signature clubs. With these 2 early game bosses, our goal is to bring bossing back to its roots, easing new and returning players into combat, preparing them for what lies ahead, and helping close the gap between early and endgame bossing. That's all really good. For completionists, there will still be plenty of chase with unique drops, pets, and titles to unlock. Alongside the bosses, we'll be introducing a new not-so-native early game slayer creature called the Sanguine Crawler. The first part of Havenhythe brings an extension to the Hunter skill, raising it to 110 with a new expansion of the big game Hunter system. This time though, it's not just about tracking, it's about surviving. Giant creatures will be hunting you, sniffing you out as they try to gain the upper hand and bring them down. In return, you'll get valuable loot, the best Hunter XP in the game, all those important materials needed to craft the new level 85 to 90 range armor. Or if you're aiming higher, brand new masterwork range with more details as we get close to release. This is really cool because what they're doing is active XP skilling, best XP in game. Beautiful. That is exactly what it should be. I'm hyped. So this is the Havenhythe Big Game Hunter layout. Is there anything we can discern? I'm kind of excited. It'll be fun to be hunted. Yeah, clearly we're in a cave. We don't see any creatures or anything. And then this is the Masterwork range gear. Ooh, okay. You know what it looks like to me? It's like Pernix. If Pernix had a baby with like a Marvel superhero. It looks pretty cool. Beyond hunting giant creatures, Havenhythe also introduces new ways to train hunters such as Clockwork trapping. You'll craft a mechanical birdhouse, place it across Havenhythe with bait, and return later to collect your catch. Ooh, these birdhouses are crafted using logs from recent 110 woodcutting update, rated from basic all the way to eternal magic, with each year forming the foundation of a stronger, more effective trap. This feels like a daily, no? I mean, I guess it's more like a farm run because it doesn't happen at a specific time, but I don't know if this aligns with the direction of the game to run around Havenhythe, set up a bunch of bird traps, and then do a bird trap run later. That is also very similar to farming though. So it's a farm run for Hunter? I'm not as sure about this. I'm not sold on this being the right thing. For those who prefer a more laid-back approach, Clockwork box traps are making their debut. Last week we spoke about introducing new integrity-focused trading methods to feel rewarding and grounded without relying on MTX. Clockwork box traps are built around that philosophy. A fully craftable, efficient hunter trading method that becomes available early and remains useful as you level. Designed to be more relaxed and flexible, they're perfect activities to slot in between your hunts. So is this protein traps? I feel like this is gonna be protein traps. If you look at Hunter as a whole, Hunter is a fully active skill. There's basically no AFK in the whole skill. So maybe they're introducing some light AFK, so there are AFK options. And maybe they are doing that because all the AFK options are being removed. We'll have to see how AFK it is. I don't like the direction of like 15-minute AFK. I think it's a little too much. And then, yeah, we also have Black Chinchompas. Additionally, you start spotting a new jackalope hopping around in Havenhythe Part 1. They're a natural step up from rabbit snaring, smoothing out early hunter experience and making it more enjoyable for players just starting out. As long as AFK is low XP, like I'm generally okay with it. Yeah, I mean, it's makeable in the game. It's kind of like note paper, right? Note paper is getting deleted, but you can make your own note paper with invention. Seems similar. So that's the Havenhythe Hunter. Next up, game update Skilling in Havenhythe. Alongside many new Hunter skilling nodes venturing beyond Wonderlick will reveal more resources never before seen in Gielinor. You'll encounter Red Ivy, a slower depleting tree, perfect for relaxed woodcutting, and giant crayfish for level 82 fishing, alongside a host of familiar skilling nodes. Also being introduced is a new soil sifting archaeology familiar. Imagine early game arc where you don't need to sift your own soil, because instead of getting the auto screeder, you use a familiar. That's great. Love that. As you explore Havenhythe, you'll meet new faces, lend a hand where it's needed, and earn achievements tied to people and places you'll discover along the way. Havenhythe will continue to expand over the year as we add more content to it. A new story quest later in the spring, a first stage archaeology dig site in the summer, and a conclusion to Havenhythe's story with part 2 releasing towards the end of 2026, where you'll also meet the Ghrazi Blood Knights in a brand new solo and duo combat boss encounter. I am really excited that it's a solo or duo boss. I think that's the right move, especially after a Masket that, while being like a masterpiece of a boss, it's just so restrictive. It's locked so many people out that I think a solo duo boss is perfect. I would have been fine with it being a just duo boss, but solo duo seems really good as an endgame boss. I think these guys are going to be terrifying. They look really cool. Yeah, this is going to be really, really fun at the end of the year. Yeah, the idea of fighting vampire knights, like, I'm imagining there's a boss in Expedition 33 called the Duelist, and I just feel like the movement of the Duelist is going to be like, has like super elegant, smooth attacks like this. That to me is like what a Blood Knight would attack like. Just the visual, the image made me think of the Duelist. Would be really cool. Player Avatar. Yes, Player Avatar is off the shelf and on its way. For those who don't know, Player Avatar Refresh is a project we kicked off in 2021. Through lots of community consultancy and live streams, we worked with you to develop a remastered visual look for the Player Avatar that feels true to your character as you know it today. After we discovered some technical limitations in 2022, it was placed on the shelf when we spent the last few years investigating in technical upgrades that could help us make it possible. And now we're ready to get this modern, grounded avatar into your hands over the course of multiple updates. Our first associated update will lay the foundations with a new base avatar, updated hairstyle and facial hair options, plus newly updated base clothes. We'll also be improving the quality of the chat heads during chat head animations. And we'll be looking for your feedback to help prioritize our future releases happening throughout the year, from which items or cosmetics we should update first, through to NPCs you'd like to see brought up to the standard. Look out for a survey in April to shape the future of Player Avatar Refresh. Finally, we know that some of our modern outfits can feel a bit off at times, looking slightly too shiny, flat, or smooth to a certain environment compared to the older, grainier textures. As part of the road to restoration later this year, we'll be rolling out rendering updates to begin addressing this, and as we move through 2026, we'll be fine-tuning and improving the look and feel of your character until we get it just right. This is really, really good, the Player Avatar. I'm very excited for it. It's been a long time coming. One thing I will say, and this is sort of a theme that comes along with the entire roadmap, a lot of this roadmap and a lot of the updates on it are not playable content. I wanted to bring that up because I do think, especially in the first 6 months of the year, there's going to be a lack of new content to play. It feels like a really good year to like make a new account, make a new Iron Man, start a new adventure, possibly, you know, look at like a possible old school arc, stuff like that. If you're the kind of person that just likes new content because you've beaten all the other content in the game. Because I'll give you an example. Player Avatar, I'm sure it cost millions and millions of dollars. It is a massive update, but it doesn't change gameplay at all. It does nothing for gameplay, right? Okay, next up, Construction 120. Later this summer, we'll be bringing new life to player-owned houses. The POH has been part of RuneScape since 06, almost 20 years. While the game has evolved significantly since then, POHs remain largely unchanged. This year, we want to change that and give POH the attention it truly deserves. With this update, we want housing to feel connected to Gielinor once more, offering a space that's personal, welcoming, and worth returning to, whether it belongs to you or a friend. You'll gain a whole new level of control over your home, with expanded options to personalize, design, and refine the details. We'll be giving construction a skill increase to 120 for good measure. Through this new recipe system, our goal is simple. Make your home a living reflection of the path you've taken, the memories you've made, and the victories you've earned. Okay, let's see some of these. So we got butterflies, noxious fumes. Who's putting noxious fumes in their own POH? Sparkly crystals, that would be like from Prif questline, Bando's questline, floaty clouds from Armadil, Evil Rising Smoke for Zamrock. Like, this is cool. There's some cool in here, to be honest with you. None of this would get me to want to go back into my house. I'd spend a bunch of time making it perfect, and then I'd never go back. And that's the one thing I think is missing from this. Part of the update is about bringing back the social spark and joy of showing off your home, inviting friends over, and maybe even hosting the occasional house party. We're still in the early design at the moment, so we reach out to hear what you'd like to see from POH in the coming weeks. Additional updates. In addition to everything I talked about today, there's plenty of other updates that come this year. In the spring, you'll be able to jump into a brand new standalone quest. It's a fluffy adventure in the spiritual successor to Gertrude's Cat. Think Lady and the Tramp meets Fort for Rinthry. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna be mad about a dog quest. And in autumn, we'll release another standalone quest. It's something a little different, but still true to our roots. We'll also be bringing in remastered content updates at the end of the spring and again in autumn as we revisit some classic pieces of content. More on exactly what that involves later this year. This is something I'm really interested in, remastered content updates. And I think there was a Reddit thread the other day. It was basically an open call to the community of what content you'd want to see remastered. What is the thing you'd most want to see remastered? It was one thing. It could be a boss, it could be a skill, it could be an area. What would you do? And of course, seasonal events throughout the year, which focus on stronger integrity and quick ways to drop and take part and leave it the fancy reward. This is one where I will believe it when I see it. I think we've been absolutely blasted by so much AFK event slop that I absolutely despise. Like, I really do not like the AFK events. The click on the snowball node forever. The click on the whatever station it is to gain whatever XP. Like, I don't care about if people choose to engage a lot in these events. I don't want stuff where you have to log in and play at a specific time. The FOMO, like, oh, I have to unlock all the cosmetics, so that's AFK for 30 years. I would love it if they actually kill all of that. And I guess when's the next event? It'll be Easter, right? We'll see what happens in Easter. But if they went back to do a short quest, get some bunny ears, and then back on your way, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'd like them to do. And then the next big one is Leagues 2. Leagues is back this autumn. After the incredible response from all of you in our first ever leagues, we're taking everything we learned and pushing this even further with Leagues 2. There's going to be new overpowered relics, tasks, challenges, rewards with brand new Leagues twist that'll flip RuneScape on its head. We also heard your feedback from Catalyst, and with Leagues 2, progression will be faster as we want you jumping in to the madness right away. We're talking more auto-completed quests, thank God, earlier access to combat relics, smoother climb through the tiers, and more power than before. But for now, just know, Leagues will be back, and once again, you'll be rewriting the rules and bending RuneScape to your will. So, I am still burned out from Leagues 1. I don't know if I'm the only one. Leagues 1 was implemented in such a way that it just killed me. It was such a grind. It was so poorly balanced, in my opinion. So something I am excited about, at very minimum, is I was very scared that we weren't going to see a Leagues 2. The thing that worried me is, what if the learning from Leagues 1 wasn't, this was a poorly implemented Leagues, and it was instead, maybe Leagues doesn't work for RS3. I was very, very worried about that. So I was truly elated to see Leagues 2 on the roadmap and coming so soon, but it's late enough in the year that my hope is if you go back to the roadmap, look at all of the integrity updates. Combat modernization, rebalancing the early and the mid game, doing a sweep up, deep clean, get rid of auras, free Runemetrics. They're doing all of this right before Leagues 2. What you could see here is this might be a really good opportunity to get old school players in for Leagues 2 and show them how much better it is than what Leagues 1 was. Next up, new visual identity. This is actually pretty important too. As we celebrate RuneScape's 25th anniversary and today's RuneScape Ahead, this marks more than a milestone. Alongside our roadmap plans for 2026, we're also introducing a new visual identity for RuneScape that reflects where our game has come from and where it's heading next. The new identity is a symbol of renewal and growth, representing a renewed focus on strong game integrity, meaningful updates, and experiences that feel worth your time to return to. Think of this moment as a turning point, grounding us in what makes RuneScape special and setting the game firmly on the course for the future it deserves. This is the start of a new era, and we can't wait to build it together. Something I was going to say about this is I think it's really good that they're done trying to make RuneScape into something it isn't. I think for a lot of years, they've been trying to turn RuneScape into there was a cyberpunky, modern kind of game. And I think that's where a lot of the blue came from. It wasn't very grounded, not to use a buzzword. It was very we're trying to go into the future where RS3 is the modern RuneScape. And it kind of feels like with this, what they've decided is they're done trying to make RuneScape into something it isn't and continue to move it forward. And what they've decided is this is the art style that represents RuneScape. And instead of making stuff as modern as possible, they're now going to try to make stuff that fits into this world. When you've got a game with 25 years of content that's so vast, I think this is actually really, really important, because what you're going to end up doing is over time, you can make the whole world feel like this, and it's always going to feel like this. I think the issue with the past era of RuneScape is every 3 months you'd get a new place that didn't fit into the rest of the world because it was trying to be something it wasn't. So it's very clear to me they figured out what they want RuneScape to look like and feel like, and now they're making that happen. And I think if this banner is any indication, it's a direction I'm personally very pleased with. RuneScape seems to be done trying to be this modern MMO, and it's kind of doing what Old School did, where Old School is loosely based off 07. RS3, it feels like they're trying to build it into, like, we'll call it 2026scape, but permanently. So even in 10 years, it's still gonna be 2026scape. It's gonna feel like that. I think it's a really, really good choice. I like the new logo. I like a lot of it. I will say this is a new, bold direction, and it's one that I'm personally excited about. I'll still say, like, I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's really easy to say, we're gonna finally make the game good and build it the right way and care about players' time and not do FOMO mechanics. But, like, we need to see that, right? And it feels like they're stacking the deck to be able to deliver that. And today's update's a really good showing of that. Like, I think there's a reason why they didn't just announce in today's roadmap, by the way, we're making the game good again. They actually combined it with the game update. That was very important, because if they hadn't done that, I think a lot of the commentary would have been players going, yeah, right, I don't buy it for a second. The biggest thing that I would say is, like, I'm excited not for today, but I'm excited for it 8 months from now. Because I think in 8 months, the game is going to be unrecognizable from what it is now. But yeah, I also think the interface is going to grow on people. I think it's going to grow on me. I definitely need to overhaul my own UI as well and change some things about it. But they're taking big swings, but I like the idea that if you're an Old School player or an RS player, when I log into Old School and I go to Lumbridge, I know it's Lumbridge. And an RS, we're gonna have the same thing now, where there's not gonna be crap everywhere. It's just gonna be like, you know, you're gonna immediately know exactly where you are. Thanks so much for watching this video, and let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about this new direction for RuneScape. And last but not least, I just wanted to say a quick genuine thank you for watching and supporting for all these years. I feel like as a community, we've been through a lot over the last years, and it feels like for the first time, better times are coming.